It's the Eds Files. I'm Dallas Kachan. If you're in K-12, you're used to managing individual students in your Student Information System, or SIS, or your Learning Management System, or LMS. And I'll bet it does a pretty good job for you of managing individual students. But what if you want to start managing groups of students and teachers and parents? Your SIS isn't going to help you here. Maybe your LMS, if you're using a good one, might let your teachers set up project teams inside their classes, but we'll bet it doesn't do a very good job setting up areas for student clubs and sports teams where central management and adult supervision are important, or where attendance might be needed. Students sometimes need to be managed for administrative reasons or listed internally. One of the biggest reasons, student success management. And then, students aside, teacher collaboration in K-12 is important. For instance, getting all your English teachers to work together on curriculum, or even far-flung ones across a whole district, not to mention teacher PD. Then, how do you manage parent interactions? The relationships between students and parents are complicated in K-12 and change every day in a big district or region. It's hard to do this. Like I said a moment ago, SISs and LMSs aren't set up well to do these sorts of things. You don't want to be using social media for student privacy reasons. It's dangerous when teachers start picking their own apps to try to solve some of these needs, because not all apps are vetted, and some even do bad things with student data. And it's unreasonable to expect to use old school mailing lists or outdated systems like Microsoft SharePoint. Let's hear from a few K-12 organizations about challenges they're facing in these areas and how they're solving them. Tyson, what problems are you trying to solve in your school's group communication?
We're a sports school, first of all. I think that's important to point out. So we have a bunch of different teams. We have 5 hockey teams, 4 basketball teams. We have a dance program, et cetera. And so we monitor them by those groups, and we work closely with the coaches, and we share those groups with the coaches. And so for us as teachers, we want to keep up with them academically because they miss a lot of school because of their travel. And for us, the ease of looking through the students one by one on the team is kind of difficult.
Before Edsby, how were you trying to solve group communication issues at the school?
So I just laugh because we've tried so many I think you almost say archaic ways, like Google Sheets with teams on them that we shared with the teachers that they could go in and put, is the kid yellow, green, or red in terms of their academic progress right now, so that coaches knew if that kid needs some extra time outside of sport to catch up academically. I did that probably 7-8 years ago. Got to the point where the coaches thought it was a little bit tedious. They kind of just wanted us to give them, only let them know when it's red because there's a little bit too much information for them.
Google Sheets, what's wrong with Google Sheets? Everybody uses Google in K-12.
100% they do. I think compare that to how we're using it now with what you guys offer with the groups. I think the summary of tardies, the summary of absences, the summary of grades, the really quick snapshot is a really awesome tool for the coaches and teachers just to see right away. On the Google Sheet, it was mostly just if the teachers, you have to rely on the teachers updating that from their grade book. When you're in Edsby, the grade book, the grade's there because it's from their actual grade.
What did your users think of before and after?
I think in general, everyone has been really happy with where it's at now, especially the coaches, because the coaches, they have to take attendance. They actually are in our SIS as well. And so just for them to have like a one-stop shop where they can see it has been really good. I've kind of come into a couple coaches meetings where, for example, our basketball coaches are meeting the other day and they're all in the boardroom and they put up the monitor group and they were talking to their kids about, okay, we really need to look after so-and-so. Looks like they have a little more absences than we'd like and a couple missing assignments. So that's exactly what we want. We just want to facilitate us keeping track of our kids academically, because that's one of our core values at the school, with academics, character, and sport. So definitely, I think in general, everyone likes the ease of use way more and that they don't have another extra step to take.
Why Edsby? What else did you look at?
I know we looked at Power School. I know we looked at Edsby, are kind of the 2 main ones. And for whatever reason, it just seemed that Edsby made the most sense for us. And I think we were interested in it did seem that Edsby was being a bit more progressive in their ideas, and we kind of want to see how that looked and how that worked. I think the first couple of years was a little bit of growing pains, as it always is with an SIS, getting used to that type of a new system. But I do think the ease of use and the parent communication and different things that Edsby offers has been, and just the kind of Facebook feed feel and just the communication feel has been really good for our school and how we operate in terms of communication, which is big for us. It's been why it's really helped us to kind of really centralize that communication and the academic progress with those kids in one spot with that group it's been awesome. And for us, what we changed as a school, we used to meet once a month for an hour and a half for lead. Now we're meeting once a week for 30 minutes. And having that consistency weekly to really just keep up with the kids on that has just been awesome for us this year in terms of our kids' progress.
Let's hear from another district. Stephanie Painchaud is learning coordinator at Northeast School Division, a school district of 5,000 students. Stephanie, how has NESD's use of Edsby Groups changed over time? Let's start with career planning and graduation.
I talked to one of our career counselors yesterday just to run through how they're using groups for careers and graduation planning. And she talked about previously she was using it for using the school announcements. So they would put on the announcements, there's a new program that's being released, or if you're in grade 10, please come and talk to me. So she was doing that. So that was taking up time of teachers in classrooms to go through those announcements. She said they were also emailing out, but that requires people to actually open and read the emails, which doesn't always happen as often. So with the advent of Edsby, that has been our go-to place for communication with students and with parents. And as a division, we've encouraged all of our schools to use that form of communication. So groups was basically an obvious choice for our career counselors to dig into.
Tell me about your use of clubs and teams within Edsby Groups.
So basically, any extracurricular activity within the school, we've encouraged them to use groups. They can choose the type of group that best meets their needs for communication, because Edsby has all sorts of different options for if you need more file storage or you're there mainly for communication. We like the feature that parents can be part of those groups. So I work with Edsby through the school division, but I also have a daughter that plays a variety of different sports. So it's a communication tool that I appreciate as a parent. Coaches will post schedules, they'll post upcoming tournament draws. They'll talk about if we need drivers or any type of information related to the season. It's all in one location. And so sports teams use it. Drama, extracurricular drama would be another one. Any other types of groups within the school, could be yearbook. It could be students on the school community, or not school community council, sorry, but the student representative council or student associations, whatever the schools choose to call them. It's a central location for that. You can have moderators, which we appreciate. So teachers and administrators are part of those groups. We also add central office, or not central office, sorry, but administrative assistants into those groups. So that, and sometimes administrators want to be part of those groups as well, because it's a quick and easy way to know what's going on and stay up to date on those happenings. And so then we pair that with River of News. So things that are specific to an athletic team or to the drama club or to the SRC go into those groups. If it's something that's more information for the entire student population, we could put that into River of News. If it's something that we want to push out publicly, like there is an upcoming tournament on the weekend that we'd like to invite the community to, we can take that River of News post and publish that to our websites as well. So the groups provide that safe space that look after privacy and different permissions for posting. It can be monitored, and we can have the people that we need in that space.
Safe space, that's an important concept. Tell me about why other approaches may not necessarily be safe for your district.
Well, I think we all know that social media, there's all sorts of communication that happens within social media, but that's not something that we have. It's not within our area of control. So when we post two different groups, we want to ensure that it meets all of the privacy requirements, that we have the students in the group that need to be there, that we're communicating with parents. So if it makes sense for them to be in the group, we can have them there as well. It puts everybody in that central location. The other feature that we really like is behind the scenes, when you set up the group, there's an option, I believe it's permissions, and you can set up who can join the group. Is the group visible to everyone? One of the things that we're talking to schools about is the setting about who can see who else is in the group, so that we make sure that we maintain and follow all of the LA4 privacy requirements. And so you can set those, you can determine who can post, you can determine who can reply to posts, you can have it set up so parents can see it or parents can participate in that.
LA4, of course, being your local privacy regulations.
Yes. So different requirements for different types of groups, and it just gives it's all in one spot. We have the option to set those permissions. And the other thing is administrators have said it's really helpful when they're part of the groups, because then they can easily go in, see what's happening. They can follow up if there's parent questions. Same with teachers. It also, as a parent, it would give me an easy and accessible way to ask a question if it's a general question for the coach about the upcoming tournament, or I also have access to sending them a message. So that makes it easy to connect with the coach. And it also keeps the players in one location, so that information is being exchanged there. I think what we're working on is trying to make the Edsby Groups or that the app the go-to place for that, because the draw is still that students have their own communication groups outside of that. But anything that is official school, we are working to keep it all in one location.
What do your users say about Edsby Groups?
I think that coaches find it's an easy way to communicate. They can put all of the files and information in one location. The challenge has just been making sure that we get parents added into the group. So we've gone through the difference between sending invites and adding parents directly to groups. We've looked at and worked with teachers on what's the fastest way to add parents to a group, because sometimes if you have 20 students on your basketball team, it might take a little bit of time to find all of those parents. So we're working on systems to make that a little bit easier. Administrators, like I said before, have found it really helpful to be part of their groups, so they know what's going on. Similarly with admin-assists, they can post updates if there's weather changes or something gets canceled. They can help with that information, again, all in one place. Students know. My daughter will say, I'll just check the Edsby group. It'll say if there's practice, if practice is on or off, and then they can check in with the rest of the team.
Neither of the two organizations we just spoke with could share their own systems on screen because of student data privacy. But let's take a look at groups in the Edsby platform for K-12 right now. On a system with fictional student data. Walking us through, here's John Myers of Edsby. John, let's start with the general sort of groups that schools and districts use, say, for clubs or teams and staff rooms and buy and sell forums and more.
Dallas, happy to do so. To do that, we'll log in first as a high school teacher, James Harris. So I'll just click the login button in this fictional school district, and you can see in the middle here, Mr. Harris has quite a wide range of groups here, and we'll cover a few of these as we go through this section. But for starters, a standard sort of group for a club or a sports team, well, a good example would be Festival Choir. Mr. Harris loves music. And so he created this group. Any staff member can create a group, and he invites people to the group through the invite button here. He can invite students, he could invite other staff, he could even invite parents. And in this group, you see a good example of how these groups can be used. Down the middle, there's a feed, a very social media style feed where you can be posting videos, files, PDFs, taking polls, liking things. Very familiar model for sharing content, and students especially are, this is their life is social media. This fits right into how they're used to collaborating with others. Within the group as well, you'll see a calendar on the right-hand side, and the calendar is used for practices or rehearsals and upcoming events like the choir. And of course, the members of the group can see this, and the parents of the students in the group can also see the calendar. So it makes it very easy to share calendar information with parents of students in clubs and teams and things like that. You also see a list of the moderators. They have special permissions. Students can even be moderators if that's desirable. There's a pin board here for important things. There's a knowledge base, which is really a 2-level wiki. And you can see, if we click on this, you can see how we do our voice warm-ups and our lip trills and our scales, and my favorite, yodeling, best done outdoors. And perhaps the team here got together and came up with a code of conduct that they use, all easy to do inside of the knowledge base within a group.
So the moderators there, top left corner, came up earlier in the conversation about an adult in the room, having adult supervision in groups. That's built into Edsby, yes?
It is, yes. You, as I mentioned earlier, you can make a student can be a moderator. It helps develop a sense of responsibility and skills in students, but it is a requirement in Edsby that there be a staff member in every group. And that is, again, adult supervision. It's just a prudent thing to do when you're dealing with students.
And if unsavory things are said in a group, there's a way for that to be surfaced as well.
Absolutely. On every single post in Edsby, not just in groups, but in classes, there's a report inappropriate button. And if I click on that, then Edsby actually goes out, takes a copy of that particular post, lets me choose a reason as to why I found this to be inappropriate, and I can add some text, and I can report this. And it's interesting. It's a great feature. It works really well. And it works so well, in fact, that it's almost never used, because students are smart and they realize that if they do something inappropriate, they can get busted quite easily with Edsby, because anybody else in the group can, with a click, can anonymously report that into the office. So it's like an insurance policy to help assure students are on their best behavior when collaborating in an Edsby class or an Edsby group. And so those are sort of the key aspects of this particular kind of group. They're very popular. Again, we find with most of our customers at a school, every sports team, every club, the people putting on the play, the upcoming trip to somewhere, all of those great opportunities to create a group, get the right people into that group, and start collaborating away.
How do you get the right people into a group?
Well, in this case, as I mentioned, the invite button, you can simply come in here and click invite and start typing the name of the people that you would like to add into the group. Like, again, students, parents, or other staff members. And if you want to review all the members in the group, you can click here and you can hit delete to remove someone from the group if your preference is you don't want them anymore in the group.
How would we add people automatically?
Well, that is a bit of a power user feature. And to do that, we restrict that to school administrators and higher level district administrators if you're operating in a district configuration. So let's take a look at that. I will log in here as a fictional school principal, William Ham. And he is the principal at Tecumseh High School, the school where James Harris is teaching. And let's look at a group here, the staff room. This is especially popular at all of our places. It's a natural. It's a virtual staff room that is very much akin to the physical staff room. It's a place where the 100 staff members at Tecumseh can collaborate on things. And that might be, they might use the knowledge base for emergency contact numbers, fire drill procedures, whatever makes sense. Down the middle, they're sharing all sorts of useful and interesting information about life at the school and things going on there. And it's a shared space for these 100 members. But it would be a bit tedious if Mr. Ham had to invite each new staff member into this group. So let's go to the setup form for the group, and let's scroll down to the section here called automated membership. And if we take a look at that, you can see there's tremendous power here. So you can say, configure in here, subscribe these user types, teachers, administrators, the senior admin, the subsets of the roles of staff members here. And you can also put in parents, you can put in students here as well. In some groups that makes sense, not for the staff room, but in other groups, automated membership can be used to bring all of the parents of grade 4 students into a group, or all of the grade 12 students into a group. Because you can see, besides user types, you can also do it by grade level, say all the grade 12s, or even by subject, all of the people taking English. So there's some really powerful ways here to set up the automated membership filters so that Edsby will maintain the membership for you without having to do any additional work. So in this particular case, the 100 members here, if another staff member were to join Tecumseh and be added into the student information system as a staff member at Tecumseh, well, in the overnight sync, Edsby would see that, would see they're assigned to Tecumseh, and would automatically add them into the staff room. So it's essentially zero administration at that point.
You mentioned parents a few times. There's obviously real power here when it comes to looping in parents for different purposes within the school or the district community. Let's talk about parents and the power of groups in Edsby.
Yeah, there is just a tremendous capability there with that. And the best way to talk about it is to actually show it. So let me log in as a fictional parent and we'll take a look at group. So here you see Sarah Lee. So Sarah has 3 children in High Prairie School District. She has some at Mesa Elementary, so she has a link there, and some at Tecumseh High School. And she has groups here coming from both of those schools. And you can tell just by the names what these are, and you can envision how useful this would be. So the grade 4 parents, she has a child in grade 4, and someone at the school created a group, auto-enrolled all of the parents of kids in grade 4. And this is where she collaborates and hears news that's pertinent to grade 4 parents. Another example of a group for her, the Mesa Parent Volunteers. So this group, she's probably also auto-enrolled in. It lets parents know about volunteer opportunities, and they can respond and say, yes, I'd love to participate. I'd love to show up. I'll be there. I'll help out. And Sarah loves to volunteer. This lets her do this. She plays piano in the festival choir, so you can see she's a member of that group you saw earlier. And she's also on the Parent School Council. So the school has set up a group, in this case, not auto-enroll, it just has 31 members, the trusted parents who are part of the Parent School Council, where they collaborate, they share things, they have a calendar, they have a knowledge base to keep track of the minutes of their meeting. So you can see all the different uses here. In fact, one of my favorite ones, and this is so simple, but it solves a significant problem, especially in early year schools, lost and found. So the school set this up. They post a picture of things that they found so the parents can come back and say, oh yeah, that's my son. So they can reply here, say, yeah, I'll come and pick that up tomorrow. So there's just many, many uses of groups within a school that flow out to the parents and make the community tighter and solve real problems that are difficult to solve without something like Edsby.
Another important use of groups in K-12 is educator professional learning communities. Can we take a look at what Edsby PLC groups look like and what makes them different?
Absolutely. Let me go back to William Ham. He is the principal at Tecumseh High School. And you can see within his set of groups here, he's got a few PLCs. He set up a math PLC, a science PLC, and there's an English professional learning community as well. So let's pop into one of these. And again, they share much of the same attributes of the other groups that you've seen, with a calendar and so on, a library, a feed for collaboration. And in this case, you could invite members individually, or you could use auto-enroll to put all of your teachers teaching English into this group. And this could be done within the single school, or you could even do this across all of your schools. If you had a school district, you could put every single grade 9 English teacher across all 20 high schools in your district into this group to be collaborating here, all taken care of automatically. But the other aspect here that's interesting and a little bit different, it's unique when compared to the other groups, they can be authoring course content in here together. So there's a content builder, as we call it, the same facility that's in an Edsby class. And you can see here's something coming out, a Google slide. There's an overview, again, coming out of Google for this. Videos can be posted in here from YouTube and web pages authored and all sorts of rich things here. The important thing is a collection of teachers can be collaborating together to author this curriculum and can come in here and by clicking the edit button can copy parts of this or the entire course structure and paste it into their Edsby classes where they can use it there. So this kind of collaborative group is really, really beneficial if you want to have your teachers flying in formation and leveraging your thought leaders, maybe curriculum specialists you have who can come in here and help these communities flourish within your groups of teachers.
Super powerful when you contemplate this at a regional level, a provincial or a state or even a national level.
Absolutely. Yeah, as I say, a teacher could set one of these up themselves and invite their one or two best teacher buddies into it and simply use it amongst themselves. It could be set up at the school level with auto enroll. It could be set up at a district level, or even set up at a ministry level, so that you can unite teachers across whatever that particular geographic scope is.
Both Tyson and Stephanie earlier mentioned groups for monitoring students or otherwise capturing them together as a list. Both of their organizations use these for helping improve students' success. Let's take a look at the special Edsby group type called a monitor group.
Yeah, happy to do so. In fact, the very first group listed here, the grade 9 at risk group, is an example of a monitor group. So let's take a look. If I click on this, first you'll note there's a little, we call it a tongue here, a little note at the top. This is a special group called the monitor group. Unlike regular group, monitor groups are not visible in any way to students and parents. So we just like to reinforce that message for people using this group, that they know that this is private. Although students are in here, the fact that the students are in here is kept private from the students and the parents of the students. So it provides a way for the staff, the educators, to collaborate on a group of students. Another thing that's novel about a monitor group is, as you see right here, it defaults to what we call the tabular view. So you're seeing some very interesting and very sensitive information about the students. You see what grade level they're in. You see what their current running academic average is if the teachers are using the Edsby gradebook. You can see their attendance data if Edsby is being used for attendance, things like community service hours, their portfolio posts, and how active they are, both their parents and the student in Edsby. So there's a rich amount of data in here. And one of the very interesting things about a monitor group, the principal, of course, would have access to this kind of information anyway. But not every teacher at the school can see this. This is sensitive information, and Edsby has very strict privacy controls. But if the principal creates a monitor group and invites, say, a special ed teacher or a speech therapist or someone into this group, it enables that individual to have access to this level of data, which otherwise they would not have. So it makes it far easier to manage the privacy aspects of controlling who gets to see the sensitive data and who doesn't. It's one of the key
Can you show us, John, the level of data that these users are entitled to see?
Well, again, you're seeing it on the screen here. You can see things like risk indicators, performance warnings, their current running academic average, and the like. And you can click through to a more detailed view of that particular student by looking at what's called the student panorama. And again, if a staff member is part of a monitor group, then they are allowed to see this richer level of data about that student. And if they're not teaching the student otherwise, they wouldn't be able to see this. So that's another interesting attribute of a monitor group. And
the panorama, of course, capturing all sorts of data from the SIS and other sources that a teacher would really have to hunt and peck an awful lot of different places to find if it wasn't for Edsby.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I do want to point out this tabular view is very powerful and unique to monitor groups, but there is the traditional Edsby group feed view as well. So this provides a place for the group of educators, in this case, these three, to collaborate on their strategies for managing those grade 9 students who are at risk. Or whatever the cohort of students are that is in this particular monitor group. And then you can see the separate buttons here for adding students and adding staff. So it enables the administrator to control this. Now, I should have pointed out earlier, only school senior admins, principals or vice principals, can create these groups. Because as I mentioned before, it unlocks access to very private and sensitive data. So we wouldn't want any old teacher to be able to create one of these, because that would enable them to take a look at any student. So we restrict the creation of these to senior people at a school, so that the privacy controls are in place.
Very good.
There is, if one other aspect I'd like to just highlight quickly here with groups, we've shown how you can create groups and invite people into them as the group creator. We've shown auto enroll. There is a third way that you can come into groups. Is some groups can be configured to let you join if you're interested. We built that a long time ago, where you can come and look at in the list of groups, you can click on more groups and see additional groups. And it's there and it's great, but they're somewhat hidden. So we created a new feature a couple of years ago now, we call the recommender. And at the bottom here, it takes a look at your interests and subjects you're teaching and things like that. And it will tell you, here's some groups you might want to think about joining. You're allowed to join these. And there's activity. It tells you 24 members, 2 recent posts, 100 members in the book fair, and it gives you a little button here to join the group. So the recommender is a way to sort of turbocharge the building of your community through Edsby Groups, because it now makes it easier for a user, the teacher, a parent, and students to see additional groups that they might want to join. So this has been very popular as we released this a couple of years ago as a way to further the kind of collaboration that's done through Edsby.
John, thank you for taking us through Edsby Groups here today. And thank you for watching. If you'd like to learn more about Edsby Groups and how they might help your K-12 organization, please contact us. For the Eds Files, I'm Dallas Kachan.